Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he made his way through the dense Alaskan forest. The moon cast long, eerie shadows on the ground, illuminating his path as he walked towards the graveyard. He could feel the weight of the stories he'd heard since childhood pressing down on him. Stories of a man-eating beast lurking in the darkness, waiting to pounce on unsuspecting victims. The village of Cedar Ridge, nestled deep within the Alaskan wilderness, was known for its rugged beauty and its eerie legends. Logan had grown up hearing tales of the haunted graveyard, stories passed down from generation to generation. His family, farmers by trade, had lived in Cedar Ridge for as long as anyone could remember. Logan himself was no stranger to the superstitions of the village. He had listened wide-eyed as his grandmother spun tales of spirits and specters that roamed the woods at night. But he had always dismissed them as nothing more than old wives' tales until now. Earlier that day, Logan had been reminded by his father of his duty to water the paddy fields. With a nod, Logan had set off into the night, his mind filled with apprehension. As Logan approached the graveyard, the air grew colder and a sense of unease settled over him like a heavy blanket. He tried to push aside the fear that gnawed at him, reminding himself that it was just superstition. But as he stepped into the graveyard, the silence was deafening. The only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath his feet. He could feel eyes watching him from the darkness, sending shivers down his spine. With each step, Logan's heart raced faster. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being followed, that something sinister lurked just beyond his sight. But he pressed on, determined to water the fields and return home. Suddenly, a movement caught his eye and Logan froze. In the dim light, he could make out a figure standing among the tombstones. His breath caught in his throat as he watched, paralyzed with fear. Then the figure began to move towards him, its movements slow and deliberate. Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he struggled to find the courage to run. But before he could move, the figure spoke. "Who goes there?" a voice called out from the darkness. Logan's fear turned to confusion as he recognized the voice. It was an old man named Jenkins, someone Logan had never seen before in the village. Yet here he was, standing in the graveyard at midnight. "Old man Jenkins?" Logan called out, his voice trembling. "Aye, 'tis me," Jenkins replied, hobbling forward with a lantern in hand. "What are you doing out here at this hour, boy?" Logan explained that he was there to water the fields, relieved to have some company in the eerie silence of the graveyard. Jenkins chuckled, shaking his head. "You're a brave one, lad, coming out here all alone. There are strange things afoot in these woods." Logan nodded, feeling a shiver run down his spine. He knew the stories of the haunted graveyard that had been passed down for generations. As they walked together, Jenkins regaled Logan with tales of the graveyard's dark past, stories of restless spirits and vengeful ghosts that haunted the night. Logan listened intently, his imagination running wild with each new tale. He couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, even in Jenkins' company. But soon, Logan began to realize something unsettling. He remembered his father's words about a mysterious figure who prowled the graveyard at midnight, a figure with a lantern in hand. Could Jenkins be that figure? As Logan's suspicions grew, so did his fear. He felt a chill creep up his spine, his palms growing clammy with sweat. He stole a glance behind him, but Jenkins was nowhere to be seen. Logan's mind raced with questions. Who was Jenkins really? And where had he disappeared to so suddenly? Suddenly, a voice shattered the silence, sending Logan reeling in terror. It wasn't Jenkins' voice, it was something else, something inhuman. "Logan," it whispered, its voice echoing with an eerie resonance. "You've stumbled into something far darker than you realize." Logan's heart pounded in his chest as he turned to face the source of the voice. Before him stood a shadowy figure, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. In that moment, Logan knew he had to make a choice: face the darkness head-on or flee into the night and never look back. With a trembling hand, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small silver pendant his grandmother had given him for protection. Clutching it tightly, he summoned every ounce of courage he had left and took a step forward. And as he did, the shadowy figure let out a bone-chilling laugh, its form dissolving into the darkness. But Logan knew this was far from over. The true horror of the haunted graveyard had only just begun.